because I can't see it.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, bro. Can you see it?
Mm, no, no, now I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on the screen for a few seconds, but then I lost it. I don't know if it's only that I touched something on my cell phone. Yeah, now I see.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Well, before we start this, I'd like to remind you that um, in the book, in the other book, no, there are two chapters that you have to read. No, they have to do with administrative procedures, and the last one is scoring. Yeah, so two concepts that also you need to master, right? Or at least that you need to take into consideration when preparing your assessments. No, however, we don't have much time. Well, if we have time at the end of the of at the end of the semester, or 1 or 2 weeks before the semester, we can go back there maybe and see the most interesting points. No, however, you have the book. Well, I don't know if you particularly have those two lessons, because I have the book, but maybe you don't. So, well, I'll send you photos, and maybe Abby can help us make a PDF for those who don't have this information. So this will complement everything that we've seen from this book, and well, I'm sure that it's going to be uh, useful for you to read, no, to have and to read these two chapters, chapter 11 and 12. No, great. Now for the next lessons, for the weeks to come, we're going to use the other book, no, that is Assessment in the Language Classroom. And I'm going to ask Abby to please have the book at hand, because we're going to need to see some pages from that book today and in the next lessons. Right. What the information that we're going to see is like a summary, like I said, from different sources. One of them is the book, no, Assessment in the Language Classroom by Liying Cheng and Jana Fox. So if you have the book, if you happen to have the book in your computer or another device, you can open it and look for more information about this. No? Yeah. So what are these principles of language assessment, of high quality assessment? Please, anybody know what? How many do you remember? No. It's 5. According to other authors, they put 1 or 2 more, but it's basically 5. No. So what are these principles? Abby, maybe you do you remember
Yes,
this from unit 1, from chapter 1? Yes.
yes, practicality, reliability, validity,
Practicality.
validity, authenticity, and I think those. I
Yeah. Okay. And some authors include, for example, Washback.
Washback.
Uh, exactly. If you look at the book, they have fairness. No, fairness.
Fairness.
And yes. No. Well, the book mentions only also consequences. No, but I think consequences and Washback are closely related. No, closely related. Well, also the book also mentions alignment, no? Alignment, and says, and I quote, alignment is the degree of agreement among curriculum, instruction, standards, and assessments, no, or tests. In order to achieve alignment, we need to select appropriate assessment methods which reflect or represent clear and appropriate learning outcomes or goals. Yeah, that's on page 11. It's the first, well, according to this author, the first principle, no? Alignment. Yeah. So, well, so whether it's 5 or 6, no, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you know the basic concepts, and that when you're preparing your assessments, you consider all of them or most of them, no? Of course, nothing is perfect. When you will notice, no, that as you gain experience, you will become more critical, and then you will realize if your assessment is missing some reliability, or you might think that it's not really consistent, reliable, consistent. You might sense that there's some for example, that some students might think that it's not fair. So, well, but this, of course, is always subject to perfecting, no, to improving. There's always room for improvement in assessing, no? In assessing. Great. Okay, and so we're going to start with this, and well, as you can see here in the first paragraph, it says that the authors of this book, well, not the one that I mentioned, but Brown and the other author, state 5 major principles of language assessment: no? Practicality, validity, reliability, authenticity, and watchback. These principles can be applied to formal tests and to assessments of all kinds. In addition, the authors, because it's 2, the authors suggest that these principles of assessment can be applied to various kinds of classroom assessments. No? Assessments. Great. Well, if you take, I mean, when you are about to elaborate an assessment, no, it's necessary to respond the following questions. No? For example, can the test be given within appropriate administrative constraints? No? Is it dependable? I mean, can you depend on this? Can you trust the results, no? On the results? Does it measure what you want? You want it to measure, no? So that is, for example, each one of these questions has to do with one of the principles, no? For example, does it accurately measure what you want it to measure? So in other words, is this assessment valid, no? Does the language in the test represent real world language use? So is it authentic, no? So it responds to the principle of authenticity. Does the test provide information that is useful for the learner? So in other words, the watchback, no? So each of these has to do with one of the principles, no? And I'm sure that you, as teachers, you always think about these, no? You always ask yourself these questions, and also, and when you have administered an assessment, you reflect on these questions, no? And you question, no? yourself. You question the procedure, the types of questions, the content, etc. No? Okay, so these questions will guide you to determine if the test is practical, valid, reliable, authentic, and with positive watchback. No? With positive watchback. Great. Yeah. So now I'd like to have one of you, please, any volunteer, to tell me what you remember about practicality. No? So for you, when can you say that a quiz, that an assessment is practical, please? Volunteers. Do we have any volunteers? Please don't be shy.
Prof,
Abby, yeah, please. Okay, thank you.
when we don't spend a lot of time in doing the assessment, and also all the students can do it easier, something like this.
Yeah, the first, I will stick to the first idea that you said, that you don't spend too much time grading, grading the test. Well, at the beginning, when you might spend a lot of time creating the assessment. We saw in previous weeks that the process to prepare high quality assessments is tedious, and it's and laborious, and it takes a lot of practice, and it takes up a lot of your time. But once the test or the assessment is done, okay, then your work is easier, because then you can combine tasks to create new assessments, and well, you remember those lessons in previous weeks. However, the time that you spend marking should be optimized, because you don't want to spend, for example, 2 days making an assessment. I mean, creating an assessment, and then you don't want to spend weeks correcting it, or marking it, because it's too much time. You need time for your other duties as a teacher. So practicality has to do with the logistical, as we can read in the second line, administrative issues in making, in developing, in giving, and scoring any kind of assessments. Aspects like, for example, costs, the amount of time in constructing and administering the test, if it's easy to score and easy to interpret the results, interpret and report results. Okay, so all of these are aspects that you have to consider, to when creating an assessment, because you don't want to spend weeks and weeks, como decodificando, decoding what the results are and how you can make a clear interpretation of the results, and marking, and marking. Okay, so well, in the break, because we're going to have one session, and then we usually have a few minutes before the beginning of the second session. So in the break, you're going to have time to watch this video that you have here on the screen, about practicality. Great. So, but I'd like you to reflect on your experience. Have you, in your practice, experienced that you are spending too much time correcting tests and elaborating, and then correcting, and then interpreting, and making this, y hacer estos reportes, that they usually, that the authorities usually ask from us? Please, anybody that would like to share their experience.
Prof.
Yes, please.
Well,
thank you.
In my case, in my own experience, yes. to be more specific, I think that in public schools and high schools, we can find this reality because, as you know, uh, we are not a technological country, so we still, and well, before this pandemic situation, we still applied the traditional test in sheet papers. So it is difficult try to assess in a better way because, as you know, we need to check each answer, each test. Uh, we as professors don't have just one course or just one grade, so we have a lot of tests, and it is really hard to assess all of the students. Uh, well, uh, to be more specific, because if we would use I don't know, maybe some technological resources, it would be easier to get or to obtain a grade. But as you know, we still continue with the traditional way. So yes, I think it is really hard, and is really difficult, or worse difficult
Or
because
was difficult.
because
Yes.
nowadays we are in online classes, so
But
evaluations are different,
are easier now.
are
Yes,
easier and are really fast. So
exactly.
I
And
I think that if I would do, if we, I don't know how to say,
if we
if we
did,
did this type of assessment at the beginning of long time ago, it would be easier for the professors assessed to the students.
of course, yes. Okay, thank you very much. I think you've made such a great contribution, and I'm sure that everybody would agree with you that it wasn't until the pandemic that many teachers or schools decided to use alternative ways of evaluating. And now, for example, teachers have to learn to prepare, for example, quizzes online, the platforms where you can enter the questions and the answer, and the system corrects everybody. You can have 100 students, and the system is doing the same job. It's only one click. You click here and here, and you get results, and you get reports, and you get everything. Yes, and maybe that's the way that it should have been long ago. Maybe we shouldn't have waited to have a pandemic to change our way of thinking. Great, thank you very much for your contribution. Great. Now, in this regard, I'd like to cite something that I found in the book, in our book, regarding practicality. Practicality. And I found it interesting that the author mentions this. He says, for example, that teachers shouldn't correct everything that the students present to them. Yeah, that's not exactly the job of a teacher. Yeah, of course, teachers have to correct, for example, midterm quizzes, final exams, of course, yes. Yeah, but he gives this example, for example, a draft, when students are writing something. Okay, he says that he shouldn't correct everybody's drafts, and they shouldn't correct all the drafts. Imagine a draft of 2 pages. If you sit and correct 40 students, 2 pages, you won't finish in the weekend. You will be sitting in the all weekend marking this. So what he says is that students should instead motivate students to support their own learning. And he promotes, for example, he says that teachers should promote, for example, self and peer assessment, ¿no? Es decir, que el alumno aprenda a corregirse, and that the students learn to be responsible for their own learning. And also that you should involve all learners, no, all students in the same purpose, in the same endeavor. No? So that's the real job of a teacher. No? Promote students' ownership. No, he mentions no that the students activate their own learning. No, and that the students learn to cooperate, meaning that you can always use the students to correct other students. Now, for example, the best students helping those who don't know much. When you're doing writing, you can have one student check the other student's work, or you can have them read different pieces of work and then comment, you know, and ask one student to correct the other. And well, of course, it's not going to be a perfect correction, no? But in this way, you involve all the students and help them take responsibility for their own learning. And so, and also he mentions, you know, a figure on page 7, no? On page 7, and I'm going to ask Abby if you can do this, if you can
Share this part.
share, yeah, share this. Yeah, it's this book, no, Assessment in the Language Classroom.
Yes.
And on page 7, we have figure 1. Yeah, as you look for this, I'm going to try and explain. Figure 1.1 shows the dimensions of assessment, ¿no? O sea, los alcances que puede tener, and the dimensions, no? And in this figure, my interpretation, no, because it's only a figure, is this, no? It's divided in 3 parts, no? Where the learner is going, where the learner is, and how to get there. No? And the 3 actors are the teacher, peer, es decir, los compañeros de the rest of the class, and the learner. No? The teacher, peer, and learner. And so what is the role of the teacher, no? in where the learner is going? No? The role of the teacher is clarifying, sharing, and understanding learning intentions. No? That's the role of the teacher. When we discuss where the learner is, no? The job of the teacher is engineering, es decir, designing effective discussions, tasks, and activities that elicit evidence of learning. Okay, so the role of the teacher is not only, for example, take the book, open to this page, or do this exercise, page such and such. No, it's engineering effective discussions, promoting discussions, activities that elicit evidence of learning. I think it's this figure, no? Yes. If you can enhance this so everybody can see it, no? Great, yeah. And how we can get there, how to get there, providing feedback that moves learners forward. No? So it's in the process, it's in the feedback that teachers have to take the opportunity to motivate learners forward, no? To move learners forward. The role of the peers, no, the rest of the class, activating students as learning resources, no, for one another. So in other words, meaning that you should always involve all the students in the learning process and deciding, no, making wise decisions on which learners can help which learners, no, and use good learners, no, as a resource for the class. No? For example, if you know that someone is really good at reading or writing or something, right? You ask examples of this student. No? So this student is also is a resource for you. No? And what a better way, no, to make students feel important, no, and useful, okay, and also respected and admired, than putting this student in front of the class and showing all his potential and all his knowledge, not to the rest. So, and then the role of the learner, no, or where the learner is and how to get there. We have this activating students as owners of their own learning. No? And I always remember, I don't know if it was in this class or maybe in one of the workshops or something, no, but they say that the best teacher is not that who is working 24 hours and checking on the students all the time. No, the best teacher is the one who, when he is not in control, when he is not in the class, his students, his or her students, are working, no, are doing something, are researching something, are reading something, not because the teacher told them to, no, but because they understand, or because they want to follow the lead of the teacher, or because they somehow the teacher was able, no, was capable of bringing, no, to their minds curiosity, no, the sense of exploring, the sense of doing things on your own, the satisfaction of discovering things on your own. Okay, and so it's so all this goes back to the principle of practicality. No, we could be using our time in better ways. No, maybe in preparing interesting activities. We don't want to spend weeks and weeks correcting things. No, so if we can develop in them, if we can promote in them this sense of cooperation, helping one another, and and taking responsibility for their own learning, we will have achieved maybe the most important goal, no, of the school year. No, great. So that is about practicality. No? Practicality. Great. What about reliability? Can anybody please describe in their own words what reliability is?
Yes, Prof. It's
Thank
about
you very much.
it's about how rea- if we are giving assurance based on what we get from scores, our markings, or errors from our students.
Huh?
Yes, how
Great.
reliable are those results from our assessment? That is something that I can say about that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to complement, you know, on this idea, the way I see it is that you can replicate this test, you know, on two different occasions, maybe with two similar groups, but not the same, or maybe the same also, and the results are similar. No? The results are similar. Of course, esto de la perfección no existe. No? I mean, you can't expect to have exactly the same results, but basically, as you can see there, a reliable test has consistent conditions across two or more administrations. No? So meaning that, for example, you administer the test, you get the results. If another teacher goes and administers the test, the results should be similar. No, should be similar. Huh? Also, as part of reliability in these lines here, we can see that, for example, that a reliable test should give clear directions for scoring and evaluation. It has uniform rubrics for scoring and evaluating. Lends itself to consistent application of rubrics by the scorer and contains tasks that are unambiguous, no? So son claras and consistent to the test taker, no? The test taker. So, and of course, if you think about it, no, many of the complaints that we usually have after a quiz is this, no, that students say, no, but it's not reliable, no? Okay. Something about the way that the teacher corrected is not reliable. And so it's about this principle of consistency, that we studied in the chapter 7, I think it was, the consistency, stability, and dependability of the assessment results. All are part of reliability. Reliability, as the other book shows, the language in the assessment classroom shows, reliability is the indicator of the number of errors. Indicator of the number of errors that we're making when marking students' work, and how consistent our marking is. And to avoid complaints from students, we should try and reduce inconsistency. Examples of this is, for example, that you give the quiz to one group, but you give them a lot of hints, for the answers. You work with another group and you tell them nothing, you don't explain the heading, o sea, el encabezado de la pregunta or something. So all these things can bring about confusion, and students can conclude that it's not reliable, because there are inconsistencies. Great. And so I don't know how much time we have, Abby. I'd like to know, so we can plan the next minutes.
Yes, we have 3 minutes more.
Three minutes. Okay, great. So I would like in these 3 minutes to explain what we are going to do in this 15-minute break, before we begin the next session. I want you to watch these 3 videos that you have on. If we can go back to the first document, Abby, we have 3 links in blue, one about practicality, and then after reliability we have and validity. In validity we have a second link.
Washback.
It's after validity. After a valid test measures exactly what it proposes to measure, etc. Then you have another link, another this one, concerning practicality. That's one. Then after validity, after a valid test, if you can scroll down, if we can scroll down here, we have another, this one, Se que termina en you see that one? We're coming before. Let's see, before this. Yeah, that one, that is one C4M, the second, and if you have time, maybe the third, Each video is about 5-6 minutes, so if you can watch 2, perfect. If you can watch 3, even better. Okay. And so And so after this, after the break, we'll discuss, you know, what you understood. Okay, if you can mention the examples that the authors give here. Okay, yeah, and I don't know if we have 1 minute. I'd like to ask if you guys can give me an example of your experience when you felt that your quiz was unreliable, no? And maybe one example when you can guarantee that your quiz was totally reliable. Please, and we finish with this, no? Please, an example of reliable and one of unreliable. Anybody? Hey, Anita, woman, can you hear me?